computer. All right. Looks like it is recording. All right. I just want to say welcome, guys, to the 43rd episode of Goddess Spotlight with Liaserenityrose. I'm your host, Leah. And of course, I have my co-host Kevin here with me.
Hello, glad to be here.
And of course, I have a very special guest who is a non-Sonic special guest for the first time. And was the voice of Shaggy and Scooby Doo, Mr. Scott Inez.
Yeah, like it's in us. That's okay. I've been called worse. Yeah, Scooby Doo.
All, all right, so let's get started with this Q&A. All right, here's my first question for you, Scott. Like, tell us how you got into voice
hmm
acting and what inspired you to pursue this career.
Well, I love radio, so I've been in radio all my life since I was, 12 years old, and I started doing writing and producing funny commercials on the radio, and became friends with a lot of other people that I interviewed in radio. Don Messick, who was the voice of Scooby Doo, Casey Kasem, who did Shaggy, and Dawes Butler, who was Yogi Bear, and so many others. And I just got a friendship going with these guys, and they taught me how to do the voices. And I thought, God, I love this. This is great. I can impersonate a lot of these characters. So they perfected, spent the time, showed me how to do them, and I just got good at it over the year. And then ended up one year being in the, back in 1980 or right 1997, being in the right place at the right time. And when Don Messick sadly passed away, and they asked me to audition, and I did, and ended up winning the part out over Dave Coulier, who was Uncle Joey on Full House. Great guy.
Oh, wow.
He even wrote the forward in my book.
Wow. That is so interesting.
Yeah, it was. It's just a fun job. When you can become somebody you're not, and behind a microphone, and you can bring a character to life without having to move your hands or move your feet. You just got to exercise your mouth, over exaggerate your mouth muscles, and your for your acting ability. It's pretty a fun job to have.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting that you like I did not know that about Dave Coulier. That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
great guy. I just saw him recently at a Comic-Con in Tennessee, and he's been battling cancer, and we've said a bunch of prayers for him. He looks great, and he's in remission. And Godspeed. He's just a wonderful, wonderful individual.
Hmm. Very interesting. All right, Kevin, do you have a question for Scott?
Yeah, so I know you were the singing voice of Shaggy and Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders, and I'm
Yeah.
very curious what it was like to voice as the character versus singing as them.
Well, I mean, I'm so married to those characters. I could do the alphabet, sing it, hum it, in character. But yeah, it was fun to do that. I met by chance a girl in bell-bottom pants, and she likes to say groovy. So yeah, that was a fun song to do, to bring to life. And what a great placement in the Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders, which, by the way, is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year.
Wow.
So it's
Ooh,
hard to
that's
believe.
exciting.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday, and it's been 25 years.
Wow, that's crazy that's been around for that long. Like the years just go by so fast.
Yeah, we're all getting old, as my dad said. Ain't none of us getting out of here alive.
All right, so here's my next question for you, Scott. Which Scooby-Doo TV show was your favorite and why?
All the above. um,
All the above.
I
Great
like them
answer.
all, man. I don't think I have. Somebody asked me that not too long ago, and I said, If anything, I guess I would have to say anything I've done. We did a TV show once, Scooby Doo and it was called the Blair Witch Project. It was on Cartoon Network, and it was a ripoff of the Blair Witch
Mm.
project, and called the Scooby Doo Project. And we had so much fun filming that and doing. I did Scrappy in that, and Scooby and Shaggy, and some of the monster sounds. Um, but yeah, that would be up there because of just the uniqueness of it, you know. But what a night for a night! The very first episode that launched it all, September 23rd, 1969, I believe. Um, that's one of my favorites too because that was the very first episode. But yeah,
Mm. That's very fair. Yeah, like Where Are You is just so nostalgic for a lot of Scooby fans, like especially myself.
yeah,
Like I grew up watching Where Are You like on Cartoon Network, because they always
yeah,
aired reruns of the episodes, and I
right,
I fell in love with it, and I always loved Scooby and Shaggy's like antics when they're running from the masked villains and all that.
right,
It's always such a treat just to see them like always running, and then they do all these elaborate stuff to like disguise themselves and make sure the
yeah,
masked villain doesn't find them.
right, yeah.
All right, Kevin, do you have another question for Scott?
Yeah, so I know a lot of Scooby fans say that Zombie Island and the movies going forward like marked a turning point in the series of like a new era, like when things got like more serious and dark, especially with the new animation style. And I was very curious what the direction and the recording was like for those movies.
Well, you know, Scooby Doo and Zombie marked new. They marketed this time the monsters are real, and I think for the time that it came out, everybody was, begging for a Scooby Doo movie that hadn't been out in like 7 years, and the timing was right. It was just impeccable from the marketing down, and they put a different spin on it. This time the monsters are real, and it worked. It just simply worked. No magic potion, no nothing. It just everything came together perfect. The critics gave it, one of the best reviews. Of course, Scooby Doo and Zombie Island is hailed now as one of the greatest Scooby Doo movies of all time, and they'll never top that. Mook Studios over in China did the Japan, I believe was did the animation, and as they did on Witch's Ghost, Alien Invaders, and Cyber Chase. But I don't know. After Cyber Chase, they weren't involved anymore, and his style changed a little bit. And went to more of that boxier, edgier kind of cookie cutter look. And Zombie Island was originally done to be a theatrical movie, but they were launching Cartoon Network at the time, trying to get the ratings up of that, and they decided to make it a direct to video and then showcased it on Cartoon Network. So I don't know. It was just a perfect timing for that. I loved it. Would Scooby Doo today, if you were to say the monsters were real, would that go over? Probably not as well today as it did in '97
Mhm.
when it came out. But I don't think the perfect storm now would line up for that. But it did then, and I'm just glad to have been a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Like even my dad loved it, and I love like it was an actual villain this time. And like what it wasn't someone in the usual costume. Like it was something really serious that they had to deal with.
Mhm.
Oh, yep, sure did.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with you, Scott. The fact that they took a leap in like changing the formula where the monsters are real. It's not just some person in like a rubber mask and costume. that we know, I think it was like a great move on their part because like
Yeah.
literally it was poked fun that in Zombie Island where Fred's like, oh, this is just a person in a mask. And then
Yeah.
the head came off and then he's like Fred's like, okay, it is real, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, like I love how they took a chance with that and it turned out pretty well. And like you said, Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island is hailed by Scooby fans everywhere that
Yeah.
it's like hailed as the best like Scooby-Doo animated movie, you
Yeah.
know.
By
So
far.
yeah, it's definitely like I had like friends who have never seen it, and I said, okay, we need to fix that. It's like it's the best Scooby-Doo animated
Yeah.
movie, and you're gonna see why. And right after watching it, they're like, oh my gosh, you're right. This is the best Scooby-Doo animated movie. I'm like, yeah, like nothing has ever topped it to this
Right.
day. So, ooh, okay. Here is my next question for you,
Okay.
Scott. Um when you get invited to conventions to meet fans, like how does it make you feel when people recognize your voice roles?
Oh, well, I mean, it's an all-time high. I mean, when you tell somebody when someone comes up to you and tells you how they you touch their lives, I mean, or that you're their favorite Scooby or you're their favorite Scrappy or Shaggy or whatever. I mean, that's a great feeling. I get a lot of people come up and say, just like you did earlier to me, you said you were my Scooby and Shaggy when I was growing up. And just like Casey Kasem and Don Messick were my Scooby and Shaggy when I was growing up.
Hmm.
And so it's glad to know that I've got a niche, a big wall, because even though I stopped doing the movies after Cyber Chase, I continued for it. Well, I'm still doing it. I just went in the other day and voiced the new ride at Sevierville in Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It's a new putt-putt golf. And I recently did some commercials and talking toys. So I've never quit doing it. But through the heyday, I mean, I still did all the voice work for all the video games, talking toys, Super Bowl ads, everything I'm still doing it. So I guess I couldn't even put an end on that. But, I tend to get the call when they need the exact sound,
Hmm.
you know? So I recently went in and did a pinball machine for Spooky Pinball. And, I did a lot of the villains for that. And then I just recently did Scrappy for it on an update. So, there's enough of it to go around. Matthew Lillard still does a lot of Shaggy, and Frank Welker moved in to help out and does some of this Scooby Doo. He's an amazing talent. And I'm just glad to still have a little footprint, a little paw print in you know, this big mystery we've got going here called Scooby Doo. It's an honor to still keep doing it.
Yeah. Like because I know it's like Scooby-Doo just has like this rich history. And as you said, like Frank Welker has been voicing Fred Jones since like Where Are You? Which
69, yeah.
yeah, and it's like he's been like voicing that character for a long time
Yeah.
and now he also does Scooby as well now.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's and watching all four of those movies that you voiced in, Scott, as Shaggy and Scooby, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like this sounds like I still feel like I can hear like Don Messick and Casey Kasem,
Well,
you know.
I take a lot of pride in keeping those exact sounds going true. I got
Hmm.
the part of Scooby because it sounded just like Don Messick, and I got the part of Casey because they actually thought it was Casey that sent in the demo.
Hmm.
So, I mean, USA Today did a story once. I remember cutting the clip out when they were reviewing, I think, Witch's Ghost. But they said Scott Ennis's Casey Kasem sounds, his Shaggy sounds so much like Casey Kasem's, it's hard to tell them apart.
Hmm.
So that's an honor. What an honor that is. In fact, I was recently on a show at KABC on the radio in Los Angeles, and they had Jean Kasem, Casey Kasem's wife, and she was praising me and telling me that Casey, she said, you probably didn't know this, Scott, but Casey loved your Shaggy, said that you did an amazing job. You did it so well he could sue you. And I just thought that was really cool coming from Casey's, ex-wife. So
Wow. Yeah, that's gonna be a huge honor, to literally have like people like, oh my gosh, this sounds like Don Messick's Scooby. This sounds exactly
right,
like Casey. Like I thought at first it was Don Messick and like Casey voicing in those animated movies. And then when I found out,
yeah,
I was like, it was somebody else. He sounds so similar to them.
right. So yeah, it's an honor to have people come up and tell me at these conventions. They go, man, you got it dead on, dude. And then when I read people's reviews online, it's nice to hear them go, nothing against this person or this person, but Scott Innes has the voice down to a T. So that makes you feel good.
Absolutely. All right. Um, wait. All right, Kevin, do you have another question for Scott?
Yeah, I'm very curious what the direction and the recording was like for the Scooby project. I remember reading on Reddit like someone did a behind the scenes of like who played the officer and people in the audience and that all the voices were recorded on phone from LA. So I'm curious from a behind the scenes perspective of what the voice recording was like.
What? Oh, you mean voicing the movie? What that was like?
Voicing the Scooby Doo project when they did
Yeah,
all the character voices. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, when you're sitting next to Mark Hamill, okay, and Adrian Barbeau, and of course Frank Welker, the legend, it's a little intimidating. I mean, you're like you're stepping into the paws of the biggest cartoon character in the world, and you're being asked by people who've loved and endured this character in the studio, not to mention the world. And you got a lot on, you got a lot riding on your plate to make sure that you don't screw it up. And you got Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera looking at you through the glass, giving you a thumbs up. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on that, but it was great, man. You had Jim Cummings sitting in there. You had um, God, just so many great, wonderful voice actors. And Mary Kay Bergman was in there. She was doing Daphne at the time. B.J. Ward was Velma. And of course, I was doing Scooby and Shaggy. Of course, Billy West did Shaggy for Zombie Island, and that's another great talent. You love me some Billy West. Just a lot of great talent. And yeah, I had to pinch myself a few times because I'm in the midst of it.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's completely understandable. That was like when Cartoon Network was at its peak, and they did some really creative promos during the day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, okay. Here's my next question for you, Scott. Like, how do you relate to Scooby and Shaggy in terms of personality?
Well, actually, really, both of them have the same personality. If you think about it, they're both scaredy cats. They both love food. They're both about as dumb as they come, but they play it off very well together. One is not as good without the other. So you know they play off each other. So they're only as great as when they're a team,
Hmm.
and that's a lot to be said. For characters that are partners basically. Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Scooby and Shaggy. I mean, you got to have the dynamic duo.
Hmm.
Batman, Robin.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, like you can't have one without the other. It's like
No, it's just not going to flow.
yeah, it's not gonna flow. Um, because it's literally been established ever since the beginning, and where are you? Like whenever they split up, Fred always says, Scooby, Shaggy, you guys go
Yeah.
that way.
Well, gang, Scoob, Shag, you go this way. Daphne, Velma, you come with me. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's been like fully established that yeah, these two are like very inseparable. Like you can't like separate a dynamic duo. It's like you said, Scott, like you can't
Yep.
separate them and then have them like be without the other because it's
Right.
it's gonna feel weird,
Right.
because we're so used to the formula.
Right. Yep.
All right, Kevin, do you have another question for Scott?
So, of the three Scooby movies that you've done, Zombie
Four.
Island, give me four. So of the four Scooby movies that you've done, which one did you enjoy voicing in the most, and was there any particular scene from that
Well,
movie that stood out to you?
I mean, you got to remove from that question Zombie Island because that was my first. You can't take that away from but um, the second one was I'd have to say it was Scooby Doo, and well, I loved all of them for certain reasons. Alien Invaders, I got to sing the song. Witches, Ghosts, the Hex Girls were involved and brought in, and then I helped come up with a couple of lines for Witches, Ghosts. There's a scene in the beginning where Shaggy solves the mystery. Scooby and Shaggy solve the mystery, and Shaggy goes to give him a high five. And the original script said, "Give me five, Scoob." And I paused for a minute, and Davis Doy, the director, says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, Shaggy would never ask Scooby to give him five when he knows he only has four paws." And
Mhm.
he goes, "Brilliant. That's changing." So there were a couple of things that I added in there. So for every one of them, in Cyber Chase, I got to do two Scoobies, two Shaggies, the Creeper. And so really people ask me what is my favorite in order. And honestly, it's in the order that I did them. Zombie Island first, Witches Go second, Alien Invaders third, and Cyber Chase fourth.
Oh, that's an interesting answer, especially about the give me four scene. I didn't even know that until now.
Yeah. Give me four. When you watch it now and you see him go, "Give me four." That was my line. I came up with that idea.
Wow, that is very interesting.
Well, these voice actors, I mean, we've gotten to know these characters, and
Mhm.
what's funny is when people try to write for the characters that really don't know the characters. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes they even write them in Scooby's voice and Shaggy's voice, and I'm like, look, just write it. I'll put it in character. It's kind of funny.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. It's like, you're kind of like, no, writer, you can write it and I'll make it, come true with the
Yeah,
voice,
yeah. I'll bring the character to life.
Mhm. That's such an interesting way to like view it. It's like, yeah, it's like writers, you do your department, I do my department, I'm the voice that brings the characters to life, So
Right,
it's such an interesting aspect, perspective too.
right.
Ooh, here is my next question for you, Scott. Um, I'm very curious to know, do you have any advice you would like to give to those who want to get started in voice acting?
Yeah, people ask me that question all the time too. And here's the deal. Back in the day, you didn't have Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. You got that now. Basically, you virtually had, you got podcasts. Virtually, what you have is you have your own radio station and TV station at your disposal 24/7. So if you want to get into voiceover acting or whatever, I'd advise you to link up with a radio station first so that you can get some stuff under your belt, get a demo reel going, blah, blah, blah. But record everything and put it up. Don't be afraid to put your telephone number on there or your inbox message so people can inbox message you. If they like what they hear, somebody may call you and ask you to do a commercial or a TV spot or whatever. You got to crawl before you walk. And this is a tough business to get into. But I'm an advocate. If you want it bad enough, it's like, how bad do you want it? You
Hmm.
got to be willing to put your foot in the door, hundreds of times. I did. That's what I did. And somewhere along the way, somebody's going to go, "Damn, I'm tired of you begging me for this job. Look, kid, get in there, grab the mic. I'm going to let you do a voice on something. And then boom, you're in.
Oh,
Don't take no for an answer. If you want it bad enough, you will do it.
wow. Yeah. Like I think it really shows your determination and perseverance. You know,
Yep.
it it's like you said, it's like don't take no for an answer. If they say, because the thing is that if you keep doing it, from your experience, Scott, you managed to like land a job because you kept like, you're like, hey, I'm not taking no for an answer.
Right.
That's very inspirational. You're like pushing yourself to like, no, this is what I want to do. You know, like,
Right.
yeah, like don't ever let anyone tell you no, you know.
Don't ever let anyone step all over you. Just open your heart and your mind. Ooh, make it feel whatever. Anyway, I just sing my Wilson Phillips favorite song there.
Oh.
Someday somebody's gonna turn around and make you want to say goodbye. Do do do. Anyway,
All right, Kevin. Do you have another question for Scott?
Yeah, I'm curious. If you were to come up with any plot for a Scooby movie, what would it be?
oh, good question. Um, one that hasn't been done. Yeah, I don't know, man. That seems like it's. I thought about that the other day. I said, is there an angle? When I actually sat down and thought, man, I may want to get into writing a Scooby movie. And then I got to thinking, God, what angle has not been done? Because think about this. Not only has there been, hundreds of movies, and TV shows, but you got comic book stories, you know what I mean? So, I mean, at some point, you're just putting a different coat of paint on the same story,
Hmm.
you know?
That is very true.
So it's like life. Rick Dees once told me, a radio personality in LA, he says, look, don't ever think you're coming up with something unique because it's been done.
Hmm.
Everything has been done. It's just how you put your spin on it. So,
Mm.
um, and that's very true. He goes, it's just how you put your mark on
Very, yeah. That's actually interesting advice. Like, yeah, with Scooby Doo, they have like a
it.
lot of like TV shows, they have comics, they have the live action movies.
There's been a million storylines. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, in life, certain things happen in your life day to day. And, like say you break down on the side of the road and then a car rear ends your car, knocks it 100 yards and then crazy. And then another 18 wheeler across the road. And you're thinking to yourself, well, now there's the Scooby Doo deal. The case of how the car made it 12 blocks and, blah, 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 blah. And you laugh about it because really every scenario has been done of Scooby Doo. I mean, it's just like I said, it's just rebranding it, repackaging it, changing a woman in the story to a man. I
Mm.
mean, I don't know how they do it. I really don't because just when you think you've got an angle, Scooby Doo meets the vampire ghost. Okay, and they go, yeah, Scooby Doo's met 1,242 vampires. Really? Yep, sure has. Already been done.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
It's also crazy how they've been able to at least like come up with like a premise because they done like a lot of like the supernatural monsters,
Right.
at this point. So you're kind of like, how do you come up with a unique story? Because like, yeah, there's like vampires, witches, ghosts, like of other supernatural creatures, and you're kind of like, how is it that they're still coming up with with some,
Right.
ideas
Yep.
for this series?
Right.
So yeah, it's just been like I think it was like 2019 they actually celebrated the 50th anniversary at San Diego Comic-Con. Um and they actually, I think, revealed like I think like a release on DVD, like a special anniversary DVD of like all the episodes of Where Are You?
Yeah. Scooby Doo is celebrating this, September 23rd. So it was this last weekend or whatever, but we celebrated 56 years
Wow,
of
that's
Scooby
so
Doo for
cool.
you is when it came out. Yeah. 1969. I want to say September 23rd. So
Ah,
could have been September 18th. I don't know. I think it's around there. But anyway. I've got so many dates in my head I can't remember all of them.
Mm. Wow, that's yeah, it's been around for like a long time, which is like,
Yep.
and it's still going strong too. Like, I'm just like, wow, they're still releasing like new animated movies.
Yep.
Um,
Every year, products, everything. Right now, all the Burger Kings are doing a big promotion with Scooby Doo. All the monsters for Halloween and stuff like that. So that's going on. All the Spirit Halloweens out there have all the new Scooby different products and costumes and magnifying glass and all that stuff. So it's a part of Americana history. You look up Rutro now in the dictionary, and it's all in there.
wow. That's amazing that it literally has like its own like definition.
Right.
That's
Yep.
that's crazy. Ooh, okay. Wait. Kevin, did you it was your question or was it mine? I
I
believe
think I think it was your turn now.
oh, my turn. Okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be sure I wasn't I'm very curious, Scott. Have you met like Matthew Lillard, Frank
Yep.
Welker? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I worked with Frank in the studios, and Matthew Lillard. I worked with him in Australia on the Scooby Doo movie. I did Scrappy-Doo in that.
Oh.
So he came in and watched me do my stuff, and so I've seen Matthew one time. Got some pictures with him, and
Oh.
yeah, I've seen all of them. The only person I never met but talked to a million times on the phone was Casey Kasem.
Ah.
Yeah, I met Don and Dawes Butler and all of them. Mel Blanc, but I never met Casey Kasem.
Mm. Ah, I see. Like because I'm pretty sure because because it makes me wonder if like Matthew Lillard like was aware that you voiced like Shaggy and Scooby in like the the
Oh
four
yeah,
animated movies. He
oh yeah.
did?
In fact, on the commentary on the DVD extra on Scooby Doo the 2002 real live action, he comments on he goes, man, that's voiced by. He's like the voice of a million characters. He's the best. So that was kind of a nice compliment.
Oh, nice. That's good that he's like at least he's like, wow, it's like this voice actor is like amazing.
Yeah, that came from him, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's gotta be like a real compliment because like that's literally live action Shaggy, like,
Yeah,
commending you for like your performance, you know. That's just really cool that you got to, work with, the live action like actors.
right.
Because at first I was like, wait, who's voicing Scrappy in this? And then when I saw in the credits it was your name, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not know he voiced Scrappy in this. Um, but I'm very curious, Scott, like were you pretty surprised that they made Scrappy a villain in the live action
Yes, they
movie?
should have never done that. Scrappy. A lot of people don't know this, but Scrappy saved the franchise. I've done Scrappy's voice for 25 plus years. Um, You know, Scrappy saved the franchise in 1979. They brought Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera in, and they were going to cancel Scooby Doo. Where are you? And they said the
Mm.
ratings are bad, blah 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 blah, and we're going to cancel it. And they're like, you can't do that. I mean, that's our signature deal. And I said, well, we're going to give you one more shot to get the ratings up, and if you don't, we're going to cancel it. So they went back to the drawing board and added Scrappy in, and you know that's what actually saved the franchise. So they kept Scooby Doo and Shaggy on and Scrappy Doo, and then it kept going and never stopped.
Mm.
Oh, that's something new I learned today.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I had like no idea that that Scrappy like saved the franchise, because I really I this is like news to me.
Yeah. So Scrappy should have never been made the villain. And if he was the villain, they should have shown that he was hypnotized
Hmm.
and made to be a villain, but he's now not a villain, just still an ordinary honorary pup, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I felt that decision was like strange because like we all know Scrappy, in the cartoons, he's like, let me at him,
Yeah,
right? Like he's like ready to like he's like fearless, and then Scooby always has to like get him so that way he wouldn't get
yeah,
caught. But then it's like the live action does like a weird 180 and it's like this doesn't make sense.
right.
Um, but but that's quite intriguing to find that out though.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I'm very curious, Scott. Do you have like a favorite Scooby-Doo classic villain from Where Are You? I'm
Yeah, I
very
mean,
curious.
Scooby, the Creeper is my favorite. Now, Creeper, Creeper, because I've voiced him a lot too, But the Ghost Clown would be a second, a quick second.
Oh, the
Oh, I
creeper and
love
the
the
ghost.
creeper too. Like he's just so unique, and like that creeper is just like such a unique line in itself.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, no, but no other villain can ever do that except him.
yep. No,
Yeah.
I'm a Creeper fan.
Yeah, like I think the antics in that episode were also pretty funny, that went pretty well.
Yeah,
I think the one I didn't really expect with the creeper was like Velma's like, you wouldn't hit someone with glasses on, right? And he takes her glasses and she kicks him. And I'm like, whoa, I was like,
yeah,
I did not expect this in this episode.
right.
Um, but I'm very curious, what do you love about the ghost clown? Um,
Well, I mean, I like clowns, period. So, but the voice is high pitched. You know, it's a good character, and he's got a little prop. Look into the pendant. You're getting sleepy. I can't do the voice because it's so high, but and I'm hoarse. But yeah, it's the ghost clown is right up there.
yeah, like I have to say he was actually a pretty smart villain for like hypnotizing. You
Yeah,
because literally like I think the ringmaster he was like so confused like suddenly trapeze wires come loose and he's like I don't know what's going on.
right,
Like he had like no idea what was causing all this and obviously the villain knew that like oh yeah, superstition of having a ghost clown is like really bad, and the masked villain used that to his advantage and he used like his skill of like hypnotizing people. Um
right.
so I think, he was one of the more clever villains in Where Are You? And yeah, I I know the ghost clown was like I could tell he was very like scary, because clowns can be like scary with all like the makeup
Right.
and all that. So I was like, yeah, he a very underrated villain for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, do you have another question for Scott?
Yeah, so the songs from like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and the Hex Girls were
Yeah.
like
Terror time
big.
again. Yep.
Yeah, they're like big hits among the fans, and I was curious, like how everyone who worked on them and including yourself and Steve voiced it in the movie. What's your perspective on that? Since it's like the Hex Girls are like, okay, one of those fictional bands that you would love to see in concert in person
Yeah.
if they ever had one.
Warner Brothers missed the deal on that. The Hex Girls could have been a real touring band for Warner Brothers. They could have put that band together They could have made it as big as Hannah Montana. It could have been a big, big, big deal. In fact, there are bands out there that call themselves the Hex Girls, and they dress up and they do the songs and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, they missed the boat on that one. That could have been big, and I'm glad that they put big artists in there. Again, that movie Zombie Island was supposed to be a motion picture, so that's why they went all out in the music. They didn't spare any expense on that. So I'm glad to see that came about, because that's why the soundtrack was just as popular as the movie. And they probably helped each other out.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a shame that like there was no like actual Hex Girl band in person. I would have loved to have seen something like that in concert.
Yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, I know because of the Witch's Ghost, and that was like the Hex Girls like debut. A lot of Scooby fans always appreciate whenever the Hex Girls make an appearance in future.
yeah,
Like I always enjoy seeing them. Like they added like I think they were like really great additions to Witch's Ghost,
right.
and then now they get like featured. I know they got featured in like Scooby, like What's New Scooby Doo,
Yeah,
Mystery Incorporated,
yeah. And they
Scooby Doo
still
and Guess
do. They
Who.
do a bunch of marketing stuff still. Like product stuff, lounge fly purses. They just did a bunch of Hex Girl stuff, Scooby makeup. They got T-shirts out, and they sell this stuff out everywhere they go. I know it's a big seller at my booth, that I carry when I do my Comic Cons. I can't keep it.
Mm, very interesting.
What did happen to that group who sung the songs on Zombie Island? I believe like that was their only songs, and then they moved on. What
Which
happened?
what's that again?
What did happen to the group afterwards that sung the songs on Zombie Island like
Oh, I don't
time
know.
again?
They're still out there. I catch them in concert. Online. I see them, and they perform those songs. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Ooh. My next question for you, Scott. Like, I'm very curious of your perspective of like having like celebrity actors, whenever Scooby and the gang have to like solve a mystery with like a celebrity actor. Like, do you have any like favorite ones that they've done?
Well, you mean people that have guest starred as voices on the show? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you had Tim Curry on The Witch's Ghost. He was, the mayor of Oak Haven. You know,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, those were huge icons. It's always neat to show up in the studio and you find out that your leading villain character is, or one of your characters is a main actor like Tim Curry. I mean,
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. I would have loved to have been around the day when they had, on today's episode, Scooby Doo meets Sonny and Cher.
Yeah, like I always found it like intriguing that they do like celebrity guest actors, you know,
Right,
and then they actually, they came out, a modern version with like Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and that's where, you get more of like the more modern guest stars.
right.
And I'm very curious, like, do you have any like specific ones that you were surprised that Scooby and the gang have like in terms of like guest stars?
We don't. Yeah, I mean, I just, I really don't. I mean, it's, like I said, anytime, I mean, you can imagine through the years how many guest stars have been on those shows.
Hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, Tim Conway, everybody I meet, it seems like in the retro world now, always associates me. They'll go, "Oh yeah, I did a guest spot or a voice on Scooby Doo." So
Hmm.
it's just so universal. Everybody has something to do with Scooby Doo in some case. They should call it the seven. You know how they got the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon? They should say the 7 degrees of Scooby Doo.
Mm. Yeah, like it's always so intriguing, like who is who's going to be the next like guest star because
Yeah,
obviously it's still a thing, you know.
yep,
I know they have done like animated movies, you know, they had one with like the wrestlers, you know,
yep,
with John Cena.
yeah,
I was not expecting it, and I know they did one with like Kiss
yeah, yep. Gene
back in the
Simmons is
day.
a good friend of mine. Yeah, they did
So
that, and they've had other guest people playing roles. You know, not necessarily as themselves, but guest roles.
mm, nice.
Well, guys, I'm gonna have to run. I got another meeting they're throwing me at here, and my phone's about to die.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much for doing this Q&A with us.
Like, it's
Yeah.
my pleasure, man. Anytime you guys want to drop a line, please do. Scooby
Yeah, for
Dooby
sure.
Doo.
Thank
All
you,
right, guys.
Scott.
You all have a
Bye.
great one. Thank you so much.
Of
Bye,
course.
Scott.